So 363 energy rating. And then we're going to start working our way across in these different blues, the dark blue, the lighter blue, and then the really light blue is where we're headed. So the next ones will be page 351. On page 351, I'm putting in two tabs. I'm putting in freestanding heating appliances, and I'm putting in insert fireplace and flue. Two tabs on page 351. Now, because they're reasonably close, I'm just going to line this one, first one, up with my ceiling exhaust fans and just cover it, so to speak. And then that gives my start position, and then I just work my way up. So 351, freestanding heating appliances and insert fireplaces and flues. That was 351. Then 349, we're putting in two more, chimneys and open fireplaces. So we're going to put in chimneys and open fireplaces on 349. So chimneys and open fireplaces on 349. So we have 349 open fireplaces and chimneys. After those two, open fireplaces and chimneys, we're going to go to page 343. And we're putting in decks and bushfire areas. Decks and bushfire areas on page 343. Decks and bushfire areas. Just working the tabs up. Just working our way through. Most of them are this simple. We do have a couple little complex sections, but I'm going to walk you through those as well. So we've got bushfire areas and decks on 343. After 343, we're going to go to 339. 339 for alpine areas. Alpine areas on 339. Alpine areas on 339. Alpine areas. Then on 337, we're putting in flood hazard areas and earthquake areas. So flood hazard areas and earthquake areas, both on page 337. So flood hazard areas. And earthquake areas. That's on 337. Then the last in these dark blues will be over the page on 335 for swimming pools. Go just over the page for swimming pools. On 335. So starting to move along nicely. So that is 335. Okay, then we move into the slightly lighter blues. And on page 329, we're going to kick off with protection of open or other windows. So that is 329. 329, and it is protection of openable other windows. So I'm just going to be sitting this, doing exactly the same thing as I did last time, and lining it up just over the freestanding heating appliances tab that I put in before. And there's my start again. So 329 for protection of openable other windows. Openable other windows. Then we go to 327. 327. $327 for we do protection of openable bedroom windows on 327. So we've got openable protection of openable bedroom windows on 327. Then go to 325 for wire barriers. On page 325, we're putting in wire barriers. Wire barriers. On 325. 325 for wire barriers. Then we go to 323 for handrails. 323 for handrails. $323 for handrails. $323 for handrails. Then 321 for barriers. 321 for barriers. 321 for barriers. 321 is barriers. After 321 with barriers, you're going to be going to 317 for landings. 317 for landings. $317 for landings. $317 for landings. $317 for landings. Then we go to, after 317 for landings, we go to 315, and we've got two on page 315. We've got slip resistance and ramps. So two now, slip resistance and ramps on 315. So slip resistance and ramps. Slip resistance and ramps. On page 315. After 315, we have one left in this particular color, which is stairs, and stairs is going on page 311. So stairs is going on 311. I'm putting in stairs. $311 stairs. That will be the last in that particular color. We move into the lighter blues then. So it was stairs on 311. Then we're going to move into the lighter blues. And on page 305, we have got 4 tabs to put in. The 4 tabs that we're going to put on page 305 is roof ventilation, mechanical ventilation. We're going to put in vapor permeable membrane for walls and condensation management. Those 4 start on page 305. So page 305, I'm putting in roof ventilation. Then I'm putting in mechanical ventilation. Then I'm putting in vapor permeable membrane for walls and condensation management, all on page 305. Page 305. As I said, roof ventilation, mechanical ventilation, vapor permeable membrane and condensation management, all on page 305. After page 305, we're going to go to 291 for sound insulation. 291 for sound insulation. 291 for sound insulation. $291 for sound insulation. $291 for sound insulation. After $291 for sound insulation, we've got natural ventilation. Natural ventilation is going on page 287. So 287, we're putting in natural ventilation. So natural ventilation on 287. After 287 natural ventilation, we've got natural light on 283. Natural light on 283. We've got 283 natural light. Natural light 283. After natural light 283, we're going to 281 for toilet doors. 281 for toilet doors. 281 for toilet doors. 281 toilet doors. Then we have our, after 281, we go to 279. 279 is room heights. 279 room heights. So we've got 279 and we've got room heights. 279 room heights. Then the last one, in this color, will be the waterproofing table, which is going on 275. 275 is for the waterproofing table. 275 is waterproofing table. So that is our waterproofing table on 275. 275 is our waterproofing table. Then we move into page 4, where we've got these tealy ones, some lightish greens, and then some stronger greens. So we're going to kick off On page 4, we're going to use the smoke alarms. Good old smoke alarms is our first tab in this particular one. And we're going to be doing that on page 267. So on 267, I'm going to be putting up smoke alarms. Smoke alarms, right, like so. 267 smoke alarms. After 267 smoke alarms, I'm going to go to 265, and on 265, I'm going to put in horizontal projections. Horizontal projections is going on page 265. 265. Horizontal projections, 265. After horizontal projections on 265, on 261, I'm putting in service penetrations. On 261, service penetrations. 261, service penetrations. 261, service penetrations. After service penetrations, I go to 259, the separating walls. Separating walls on page 259. 259. That one, which is separating walls on 259. After 259 separating walls, on 257, I'm going with roof skylights, which is roof lights. So skylights on 257. $257 for skylights. After 257, it is 249 for open carports. So 249 open carports. Open carports. Open carports on 249. So after 249 open carports, you've got 239, which is garage carports. 239 for garages / carports. Like so. That's garage carports on 239. After 239, 237, I'm going to do external wall FRL. External wall FRL is ongoing on page 237. 237 for external wall FRL. External wall FRL is there on 237. And then after 237, we've got external wall distance on 233. 233 for external wall distance. External wall distance. Goes in like so. Okay, that should be the last in that particular colour. So then we're going to move into the...
Sorry, mate. What was that last page?
233.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do next up is we've got the glazing ones, which are these slightly discoloured green ones, is where we're going to kick off next. So with this, we're going to start on page 229. So 229, we're going to put 4 tabs on this. We're going to be putting in visibility decals. We're going to be putting in diagram bathroom ensuite spa rooms. We're also going to be putting in the diagram other panels. And lastly, we're going to be putting in the table for glass shower doors and screens, which is here. So these 4 will be the first 4 that I'm putting in. So I'm putting visibility decals. This is all on page 229. Visibility decals is my first one that I'm putting on. So visibility decals. Then I'm going to be putting in bathroom diagrams for ensuites and spa rooms. Then I'm going to be diagram other glazed panels. And then I'm going to be putting in the table for safe glass shower doors and / screens. So those 4 on page 229. So I'll run through those again. Visibility decals, diagram bathroom ensuite spa rooms, diagram other glazed panels, and table safe glass shower doors / screens. They're all on 229. After 229, with those, we just go to 227. 227, we're putting another 3. We're putting in our diagram doors and side panels. We're putting in our table for safety glass door side panels. And we're putting in our table for ordinary glass side panels. So those 3 are going on 227, which is diagram doors and side panels, table safe glass door side panels, and table ordinary glass side panels. So they're all to do with side panels. One's a diagram and 2 are tables. Okay, so we've got 227. We've got our table ordinary side glass. We've got our table safe glass side panels and our diagram for the doors and side panels. We've got one last one to put on, which is the table ordinary glass perimeter of the building. And that's going on 223. 223 is where we're putting this table for ordinary glass perimeter building. Like so. That gives us a nice run through. Next up, we've got a little bit more of a challenge when we move into these dark greens. Now, hopefully you've noticed that you've got dark greens on 2 pages. We've got dark greens on 2 pages, and we've got some that have got some special numbering on them. These ones with the special numbering, which is on page 3, is where we're going to start, and then we'll start working through the rest of the tabs as well. But we've got these broken down into 3.51 sheet roofing, 3.52 roof tiles, 353 gutters and downpipes, 354 timber composite wall cladding, and 355, which is metal wall cladding. So those are where we're going to start. We're going to put those and we're going to work out them from the top. So the first one I'm going to be doing is our 351 sheet roofing, and that's going to be on page 177. So on page 177, up the top, I'm going to put in this 351 sheet roofing. So I'm going to put this up here at the top. The next 5, I'm going to work my way down. And these are just breaking it into sections. So the first one is on sheet roofing. The second one is on roof tiles. The roof tile one, I'm going to be putting on page 189. So I'm just working my way down with these particular ones. Just going to line them up like I did with the stuff at the start. Page 189, just lining it up. $189. After 189 for our roof tiles, we're going to do our gutters / downpipes on page 199. So just working these ones down. So this is 353 gutters and downpipes going on page 199. Once we get these particular ones in, then we'll just start working our way forward with the other green tabs. So there's my gutters and downpipes, page 199. After 199, I'm going to do my 3.54, which is timber and composite wall claddings, and that is going on 207. So page 207 is where I'll be putting this one. Page 207 is where I'm putting 3.54 timber composite wall cladding. Like so. One more to go on, which is for the 355 metal wall cladding, which is on 219. 219. Which is where it makes it reference over this page here. Get that one in. And then that's those 5 down from the top. And then we'll start working our way up and working our way across. So after that particular one, I'll start my tabs coming up the side here. The first ones I'm going to be using is Parapet Capping and cladding ground clearance, and I'm going to be on 217 for these. So if you're looking for these are parapet capping and cladding ground clearance is back on that page for a lot of tabs. This is where I'm starting off on page 217. First one I'm going to do is parapet capping. So parapet capping, like so. After parapet capping, I'm putting cladding ground clearance together on page 217. 217 for those two. After those two, then we're going to go to page 215 for 3 tabs. Those 3 tabs are flashings over windows and doors. We're doing our windows door flashings. And we're also doing our eave lining fixing. So these 3 tabs on page 215. On page 215. I put in our flashings over windows and doors. I'm putting our windows, doors, flashings, and my eave lining fixing, all on page 215. So I've got those 3. So after, excuse me, after 215, we go to 213. We're doing our vapor permeable membrane for walls. And we are doing our sheet wall cladding. On page 213. So I am putting in my vapor permeable membrane walls. And I am doing my sheet wall cladding. Okay, so we've got those 2 on page 213. After page 213, I've got 1 on page 207 where I'm going to put in my timber cladding lapping fixing on page 207. So that was timber cladding lapping fixing, and that is going on page 207. So 1 tab on page 207. Like so. So that is timber cladding, lapping and fixing on page 207. After 207, I'm going to go to page 205 for 1 tab. Now this tab, which is overflow measures, I'm going to take it back down and start at the bottom again. So this is going to be on page 205, which is overflow measures. 205 for overflow measures on page 205 overflow measures. After that, then 201 for rainfall intensities. 201 for rainfall intensities. So just the 1 tab, working my way up, get for the 2nd time. So rainfall intensity areas on page 201. After page 201, I go to 199 and I'm putting in my DP location and gutter fall. DP location and gutter fall on page 199. DP location or your gutter fall. DP location and gutter fall. That's on page 199. After page 199, I'm going to page 197 for 3 more tabs, and it should be the last 3 tabs on that particular sheet, which is end tile overhang, anti-ponding device, and sarking tile roof. All on page 197. So on page 197, I'm putting my end tile overhang, anti-ponding device, and sarking for tile roofs. All on page 197. 197. On 97 is for those 3. So they were end tile overhang, anti-ponding device, sarking tile roof. After that one, on page 193 is where the next one's going to be, which is just flashing. So back to page 3, flashings running up the side. So on page 193, 1 tab, flashings. Lined up like so. 193 flashings. After 193 flashings, I have 189. 189 is roof pitch tiles. So roof top pitch tiles, and I'm going to just, because it's only the one, I'm going to just stick it here just above flashings. Like so, 189 for roof pitch tiles. And with that particular one, the next one that I'm putting, I'm starting back down the bottom again. So that is 189. Then for 187, I'm starting down the bottom for end sheet overhang. End sheet overhang is going on page 187. Page 187. I'm starting back down the bottom. For end oversheet overhang. End sheet overhang. Page 187. After 187, 185, we're going to throw in flashing capping. Flashing / capping on page 185. Page 185. Flashing / capping, 185. After 185, for that flashing capping, I go to 183, and I'm putting in 2, minimum end lap and fixing. Min end lap and fixing are both going on page 183. I've got these 2, so minimum end lap and fixing, both on page 183. So page 183, minimum end lap and fixing. Since we've got those done on page 183, we're going to 181 for the last two tabs in this color, which is for roof, maximum batten spans and roof pitch for sheet. So I'm putting in my max batten span, then I'm putting in my roof pitch sheet on page 181, and that'll be the end of those particular greens. So we've just got through those ones nicely. That's 181. So 181, then we're moving into these light greens. Here are our next ones. So with the, excuse me, those next ones, we're going to be kicking that off on page 161. 161 is where we're going to start with these timber framing, where we're going to be putting in steel members and timber framing manual. So 2 on page 161. These lighter greens, starting down the bottom and working my way up with these. So I've got my steel members and timber framing manual. Both on 161. After 161 for timber framing manual and steel members, we go to page 159 and we're putting in steel framing. 189 steel framing. 189 steel framing. 189 steel framing. After 159 steel framing, it's 157 for ground clearance sloping and vents. So 2 tabs on page 157, ground clearance sloping and vents. So 2 on page 157. Ground clearance sloping and vents, both on 157. So we've got those 2. After 157, we go to 155. 155, we're putting in 3 tabs. Climate zone relative humidity. We're also doing our ground clearance and we're doing our subfloor ventilation. So 3 tabs on page 155. So as I said, page 155, climate zone relative humidity. We're putting in our ground clearance and subfloor ventilation, all on page 155. All right. So page 155, we've got subfloor ventilation, ground clearance, and climate zone relative humidity. Excellent. And then we've got 2 more in this particular color, which are both going on page 153. So on page 153, you should be putting in timber framing members and span/spacing. So those two particular ones. So timber framing members and span/spacing on page 153. All right, beautiful. So that is that particular colour done. So the next colour up is the yellows, which is for our masonry. So once you get that one done, we're going to kick off on page 147 for isolated piers. So 147, I'm jumping on isolated piers and just starting at one up from the bottom again, like all the ones I have. Isolated piers. There we are on page 147 for isolated piers. After 147 isolated piers, 145 for engaged piers. So that's 145 engaged piers. So after 145 engaged piers, we go to 143 for AJs. 143 is AJs. $143 AJs. After 143 AJs, we're going to page 141 and we're putting in 3 tabs: steel lentils, wall ties, weep holes. So 141, steel lentils, wall ties, and weep holes. These 3 on 147. Okay, that is 141. We've got those 3, which is weep holes, wall ties, and steel lentils. After that one, we're going to 139 for 4 tabs. The 4 tabs are DPC, cavity width, mortar joint depths, and mortar mixes on page 139. So DPC, cavity width, mortar joint depths, and mortar mixes. All on page 139. So this is 139, DPC, cavity width, mortar joint depth and mortar mixes, all on 139. Then the final tab in this colour is on 137, which is the last one on the sheet, should be brick wall heights on page 137. That should leave us with 1 page of tabs left to do. So we have, just like those green ones we had, we've got some numbered tabs. Got 4 numbered tabs up here. We're going to put those in, and then we'll put in the rest of the orange slab tabs.
Sorry, can you confirm that last one?
The last one page was 137.
Yep.
And that was brick wall heights.
Is mortar mixes an extra?
No, mortar mixes should have been the page before. 139. You had 4 tabs: DPC, cavity width, mortar joint depths, and mortar mixes.
Right, cool. Thank you.
No, not a problem. So we've got these orange ones. So we're going to do these 3 of these 4 first. Once they're done, then we'll do the rest of the orange tabs. So the first one will be 322 preparation, which is going to go on page 111. So 111, and start at the top, the 322 preparation, and work these 4 tabs down. So page 111, 322 preparation at the top. Then I'll put directly underneath it 323 concrete reinforcement on page 117. So this will be page 117. Just splitting them up into sections because there's so many tabs on slabs. So that is 323 on page 117. After that, on page 119, we're going to put in 324 site classification. So that was 117 for 323, 119 for 324 site classification. So that was page 119 for 324. And then 121 for 325. So page 121 for 3.25 footings and slab structures. So 121. For that one. 121. Excellent. So it was page 121 for 3.25 footings and slab construction. Once we've got those 4 in, then we'll start down the bottom again, and we'll be starting down the bottom with infill slabs on page 131. So page 131. I'm going to start down the bottom with infill slabs. So 131, up from the bottom, infill slabs. So infill slabs 131. Then to page 129 for DF, depth of footing. DF, depth of footing on page 129. After DF, depth of footing on 129, 127, we're going to have strip footing comps. Strip footing comps on page 127. Strip footing comps on page 127. After 127 strip footing comps, we go to 125 for raft slab comps. 125 raft slab comps. $125 raft footing comps. That's where that one goes. After raft slab comps, we're going to 123 for pad footing comps. Pad footing comps on page 123. $123 for pad footing comps. After pad footing comps, 123. On page 121, we're putting into re-entrance bars and shrinkage control. Re-entrance bars and shrinkage control on page 121. So 121 re-entrance bars. And we've got shrinkage control. On page 121. After 121, I go to 119. I've got 3 on this page. So I've got saw types. I have got my bar chairs and concrete coverage. So usually what I'll do is, actually this particular one, it'll work. So I will do my saw types, take these 3 above one another. Then next page I'll start at the bottom. So I've got my soil types. Got my bar chair, and I have my concrete coverage. The concrete coverage. So page 119, soil types, bar chairs, and concrete coverage on page 119. After 119, I go to 117, starting at the bottom and working my way up again. I do steel minimum lap. Sorry, steel minimum lap and concrete strength Aggie slump. So those two, page 117. So I'll just start these down the bottom again. So which is my steel minimum lap and my concrete strength Aggie slump, page 117. So I've got those two there. After those two, I go to page 115. 115, 2 tabs again. Masonry overhang and edge rebutts. both on page 115. So 115, I've got masonry overhang and I've got edge rebates. Both on page 115. So masonry overhang, edge rebates on page 115. After that, 113. Two more. Vapor barriers and stepped strip footings. So I am putting in vapor barriers and stepped strip footings. So vapor barriers and stepped strip footings. There on page 113. After 113, I have got page 111. And 111, I'm putting in 4 tabs. So I think I might start them down the bottom again. So on page 111, I'm going to put in slab edge sloping sites. I'm going to be putting in bearing pressure, KPA, roll controlled fill, and footing excavation. So these 4 tabs on page 111, I'm going to start these down the bottom again. So I'm going to put in my slab edge sloping sides. Then I'm going to put in my bearing pressure, KPA. Then my rolled controlled fill and my footing excavations. And this is all on page 111. For those 4. The last one in the orange, we're going to just go over the page on 109, which is where we put in our slab footing limits on page 109. And that'll be the last of the oranges. We've just got a strip of reds and 2 different colors to put in, and then we're finished for the night. So 109, I've got my slab footing limits. So I've got those ones all taken care of. Okay, so next up, we go to 103. 103 is where I'm putting in my first of the reds, which is durable notice, termite durable notice on page 103. Page 103. We've got termite durable notice. Termite durable notice. Page 103. After page 103, I'm going to page 99 for stormwater drain coverage and subsoil drainage. So 2, I've got stormwater drain coverage and subsoil drainage, both going on page 99. So I'm putting in my stormwater drain coverage and then subsoil drainage. So I've got 99, I've got subsoil drainage and stormwater drainage. Then page 97, I'm putting in 4 tabs. I'm putting in my finished slab heights I'm putting in my finished ground level. I'm putting in my surface water drainage, and I'm putting in my angle of repose, all on page 97, 4 tabs. So 4 tabs on page 97, finished slab heights, finished ground level, surface water drainage, and angle of repose, all on page 97. Okay, after those ones on page 97, then we're going to go to page 93. 93, we're going to be putting in our slope ratios. Slope ratios tab on page 93. So slope ratio on page 93. And then we've got one more tab left for the evening, which is going on page 85, which is wind regions. Wind regions is going in on page 85. So usually what I do with my wind regions 85, I just put it straight above my slope ratios. Like so, on page 85. And then that is my NCC completed. Like so and so. There we go, all